With 2016 now in the books, we can take a look back at all the new cartoons and shows that were released throughout the year. And while some were great, others were not. I'm your host, as always, KMACK time, and today I want to share with you my list for my top 10 worst cartoons of 2016. Now, real quick, before we get into the list, I want to take a second and remind all of you that this is just my own personal opinion, and if you happen to like a show on the list, it's not a big deal. You can like shows that others don't, it's just an opinion, and these shows for me, one reason or another, they just weren't that great for me personally, and it may be different for you. Anyway, let's jump right in, guys, with number 10, Skylanders Academy. This is a Netflix-only cartoon that is based off the popular kids game Skylanders, starring Spyro the Dragon. Now, Spyro was one of my favorite characters growing up. I played all the games on PS1, GameCube, PS2, and I'll always have a special place for him in my heart, but this is not the Spyro that I know and love. I've personally never played any of the Skylanders games, and I know they're for a younger audience, and so is the cartoon, but I just couldn't get on board with this show, what they did to Spyro. It doesn't look the same, doesn't sound the same, he's not as snarky as he used to be. I don't like that character, I don't like what they've done with him, and it was renewed for a second season that debuts in 2017 for some reason. I don't understand. Maybe the kids like this show, but for me, and maybe other fans of Spyro and other characters that are a little bit older, it's just not a show that I can really like that much. Number 9 goes to Border Town, and when I first heard that Seth MacFarlane, the creator of Family Guy, and many other important people with that show were going to make an animated series for Fox, I was very excited. But what we got with Border Town was just awful. The show is centered around two families living in a southwest desert town of the United States on the Mexico border. The show comes off as actually somewhat racist in my opinion at times. I know they're not trying to be. I know they're not trying to be racist. It's kind of just these jokes out there. But to me, they kind of fall flat. And I really expected more out of this show. And I really expected more out of the people behind the show. Fox has already announced the show is being canceled after just 13 episodes, which personally to me is 13 too many episodes that ever need to be made. Do not waste your time with this show. Coming in at number 8 is Future Worm, which was created by Ryan Quincy, who had previously created the IFC's Out There for Disney XD. The show features the adventures of Danny and Future Worm, who time travel by using a lunchbox-shaped time machine. I imagine Rick and Morty combined with Johnny Test. That's kind of what the show is like, only there's nowhere near as funny or as interesting as either Rick and Morty or Johnny Test. Those shows are much better. Overall, the show is not that bad. I even enjoyed a handful of episodes. I just felt that the show was one of those shows that will be quickly forgotten. It'll last maybe 1 or 2 seasons, and you'll just forget about it completely, and it'll be one of those shows that just goes by the wayside completely. And that's why it's on my list. It's just kind of a forgettable show. Not that great, not that bad either. Just kind of forgettable. Next up at number 7 is a show that really confused me, and that is Brad Neely's Hargnalan Slopio Pipio, which is an animated sketch comedy and musical show on Adult Swim. This show was just so crazy weird that I could never even watch a full episode. I'm sure it had some funny moments, but I personally never saw any. Its sense of humor is like very stonerish style, and I never find those kind of shows to be any interesting to me personally. Adult Swim recently announced the show will not be making a return for a second season, and thank God for that. Now, if they could just figure out how to get Rick and Morty Season 3 out even faster, I will be able to be happy. Number 6 goes to Peking Duckling, which is a children's show on Disney Junior. And I know that this show is for kids under the age of 5, and I know that these type of shows usually aren't the best for people of my age to watch, but this one was especially boring to me. I had to suffer through a few episodes while I was watching some of my younger cousins earlier in the year, and even they didn't want to watch this show. If you're looking for a cartoon that your little ones can enjoy that won't drive you crazy, I suggest you look elsewhere. Maybe good old Dora the Explorer, or hell, even some old school Blue's Clues would be a much better alternative than Peking Duckling. Just cracking our top 5 is Bunnicula, which is loosely based on the children's book series by James and Deborah Howe. The show is a dark comedy about a vampire rabbit who likes carrot juice instead of blood to strengthen up his super abilities and paranormal adventures. From what I've seen of the show, its characters are typical Smart Cat and Stupid Dog, and we've seen that 1,000 times. Ahem, looking at you, Cat Dog. But this show tries to add in a whole paranormal thing, and like I said, it's trying to add things like Cat Dog and combining it with a show like Danny Phantom, and to me this mix just kind of seems off, and I didn't care for it. The show isn't that bad. Personally, I just couldn't get into it. However, it did get a renewal for a second season coming in 2017 to both Cartoon Network and Boomerang. So if that's your cup of tea, then look forward to seeing it again next year. Number 4 goes to Ready, Jet, Go, which is a PBS kids show that debuted last February. The show follows Jet Propulsion and his family, who are from a fictional planet called Borton 7. They live on Earth where they study human customs and Earth environments for a travel guide for other aliens. Another show aimed at a much younger audience, but this one is geared to teach kids about science. Singing songs about the scientific method or photosynthesis is not what I want in a cartoon. And if I wanted to learn about science in my cartoon, then I would simply just stick to Jimmy Neutron, as that was a way better cartoon than that. I know it's like a little bit different, aimed at a different age audience, but this one is just one I would prefer to skip completely. Coming in at number 3 is Legends of Chamberlain Heights. And this was the new Comedy Central show they introduced to follow South Park this year, and it was almost unwatchable for me. I get that the show is supposed to be stupid, and it's supposed to be over the top, and it's supposed to kind of push racial boundaries, but I just can't stand it, and I can't stand its brand of comedy. It does have a handful of clever jokes, and the writing is halfway decent at times, but when this show comes on, I immediately change the channel. Again, it's not the worst show I've ever seen, not by a long shot, but the fact that it got a spot on prime time after South Park, one of the best shows ever, makes it hard for me to like this one, and I just kind of hope they don't bring it back. And our runner-up spot is Camp WWE, which is exactly what it sounds like. I mean, imagine Total Drama Island, but with WWE characters. John Cena, Triple H, Vince McMahon, and many more make appearances in the show as kids and counselors at a camp for kids that are into wrestling. Now, for me, I was never into wrestling in real life. I never watched WWE. I never watched The Rock or any of those people. I don't know anything about wrestling, and that's why the show, for me personally, is hard to watch, because the whole show they make fun of, they have inside jokes, and they make plays on memorable moments from wrestling history, and I'm sure to a wrestling fan that is awesome. I'm sure the jokes are really funny. I'm sure that the writing is good, but if you don't like wrestling like me, then this show just kind of falls flat. There's nothing there to people that aren't wrestling fans. It's all for wrestling fans, and I am not a wrestling fan. And there's nothing against people that are, and that's all you want to watch wrestling, you want to watch a cartoon, that's great. But for me personally, I don't care for it, and made it to this show very hard to watch, and that is why it's on our list. And finally, my number 1 worst cartoon of 2016 goes to the Powerpuff Girls reboot. And yes, it makes me sad to see such a great show from my childhood take a bad turn, but man, it sucks when this happens. I knew the show was heading in the wrong direction when I heard they weren't bringing back the original voice actors for the girls, but I still thought they might have a good chance of being an okay show, but turns out I was dead wrong. I mean, I could go on for hours about the little things that they did in the show that I don't like, from like I said, the voice acting being gone. They're not bringing back certain characters. They cut out Miss Blossom. They cut out a lot of things. They cut out Miss Keen's boobs for whatever reason. And it's just small things like that, and they did a lot of that. And just take a look at this clip right here and let that speak for itself.
Party time!
The twerking, the selfies, and the one-dimensional writing of the characters is really what killed the reboot. I mean, it's still a watchable show. It's not that bad, but it hurts to see one of my favorite old-school shows get destroyed like that, and that is why it is my number 1 worst cartoon of 2016. But anyway, guys, that's all I have time for today. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you guys did, make sure to hit that like button, as it really helps out my channel. Let's shoot for 500 likes. Also, let me know what cartoons you guys hated in 2016. I would love to hear your guys' opinions. Did you like some of the shows on the list? Do you like other shows? Did you not like some of the shows? I would love to hear you guys all your opinions like that down in the comment section. Also, feel free to subscribe for more cartoon content in your sub boxes daily. But until next time, guys, remember that's always KMACK time somewhere. Until then, take it easy and peace out.